What is up, guys? It is your boy Sweet here, and today we're going to be talking about 5 heroes that are currently very popular and very powerful, and then I'm going to be talking about their counters. How do you counter these heroes? Why are they so strong? And how do you prevent them from snowballing in your games? That's what we'll be discussing, so smash that like button in the name of Veno Jungle, and let's hop right into it. After you smash the like button, just remember to do that. Also, if you guys want to get some in-depth knowledge and content, make sure you go sign up to the gameleap website. I create content there basically every single day. I've been aiming for a video every single day, like of my own. There are other pros who create content as well, so basically you're getting one video from me every day, or a video from pro every single day, or 2 videos a day. And that doesn't include YouTube posts, right? It's not like we just only post our YouTube content there, right? It is up over there, but you're gonna get such good content, such in-depth stuff. I've even had someone message me on Discord recently saying, "Oh, Speed, I'm shocked. There's so much original and content over there." I'm like, yeah, we put in a lot of work to make sure that GameLeap is not, just some meme, right? I know GameLeap is literally just a meme sometimes, but it really isn't. There's so much value there. In fact, I think we could charge $50 a month for it, and I would still think it's worth it, which maybe it's just me being biased, GameLeap for life, But yeah, go sign up right now, click the link down below, and I hope to see you guys there. Alright, so let's waste no time and start off with number 1, which is Spectre. I feel like I have to start with Spectre, otherwise it's a literal crime. Spectre has been dominating pubs. Not just low MMR pubs like he usually does, high MMR pubs too. Drums Manta Spectre and various variations of this build, and I've even seen some Blade Mail builds, just seem to be dominating pubs. It's really ridiculous. On top of that, I think Scotty's in a pretty good place, Abyssal's in a good place, even Diffusal are all items in good places, and they work really, really well with this build. And so yeah, Spectre in combination with those item changes and the help of recent buffs to Haunt and his pure damage W as well, it kind of just made him way too good. Also, the tempo of the game favors Spectre right now. So let's get into the counters. And the typical counter to Spectre, for whatever reason, is sort of the chip damage, tanky, spitty Veno heroes. Now, I could say Venomancer, as I do think actually Veno is pretty decent against Spec. I think you can win the lane if you play properly, and you can bully him out of the lane with Plague Wards, as Spectre doesn't have a great way of killing them. But that's not going to be the first hero. The first hero is Necrophos. Necrophos in a lot of ways is similar to Veno, however, if you spam your Q and you take a point in your E in the lane, there's no way Spectre should really ever kill you. And that's a good thing, because what it means is that you can hit Spectre over and over and over and over again. That's good. That's a really good thing. And there's also a couple more reasons why Necrophos is actually such a good counter to Spectre. Number 1 is Ultimate prevents you from having to deal with Dispersion on an absurd level. Now sure, that you still gotta be careful if you're close to him when he gets chopped by the scythe. It's not a fun experience, but usually Spectre can turn fights when on half HP or man up even at 500, 600 HP, turning a fight or even just winning a fight at that amount of health, and Necrophos prevents that, right? Spectre's one of those carries that naturally builds a lot of HP. I've seen multiple Spectres 30, 40 minutes into the game with 4,000 HP, and having a scythe to deal with that is great, and you lane well against them, so it's a good combo. And the last thing to mention is Necro can be a mech and a pipe buyer, 2 items that are very good against the AoE damage of Spectre. Next up is Undying. Undying is good in lane against Spectre as he prevents him from being too tanky, which sort of applies mid and late game as well. Then you have Soul Rip, which, magical damage in the early game against Spectre is solid as well, not too big of a deal. Tombstone is very, very good against Spectre. Spectre doesn't build too much attack speed, at least he used to not do it, so especially in your typical low MMR pub when people are still buying Radiant's first item for whatever reason, Tombstone will destroy Spectre, prevents him really from chasing anyone. And most importantly, we have Flesh Golem. The pure fact that you can walk up to Spectre, hit him, and amplify his damage taken, because that's what Flesh Golem does now. Anytime Undying auto attacks someone, they get slowed, which is once again going to kite the Spectre, and they get amped damage. Big deal against a tanky hero, and that's kind of like a big thing about Necro Undying and the last hero we're going to cover, which is Viper. But Undying is really good at doing that. Also, he doesn't get instantly killed by Spectre, which is a good thing to have. Even Ogre Magi can be decent against Spectre just for that reason. Same thing as Jakiro. And finally is Viper. Wanna know why? Because you can play a high tempo. You can shut down the Spectre, and most importantly, your Nether Toxin disables both of his passives. That's a big deal. If he jumps any of your supports, you throw down another Toxin, and you do your best to protect them, or if you gank a Spectre, usually he's able to turn the fight with Dispersion. Without Dispersion, he's actually pretty easy to kill, and Viper does that. Next up, the second hero I'd like to talk about how to counter is Venomancer. The hero has been skyrocketing in win rate, 56% on Dota 2 Pro Tracker and 53% approximately on Dota Buff. Just goes to show how good Veno is right now. And here's a couple counters. The first one is Arc Warden. I'm actually going to make a video, probably tomorrow, about RTZ Arc Warden. Funny enough, I actually recorded a full video talking about, literally a full video talking about RTZ's Arc Warden, and OBS decided that, hey, we're just going to make your mic default instead of your actual recording mic, and that was a great experience. So if you guys feel bad for me, if you are weeping and howling like I am, hit that like button, but most importantly, go get your gameleap sub. Alright, but in all seriousness, Arc Warden is a counter to Veno for a couple of main reasons. First things first, in the lane you're very good because your auto attacks are actually a higher range than Veno, so you can hit him a lot. And Spark Wraith can actually bully him out of the lane at level 1 when Veno is the weakest. In combination with the good laning support, which you'll probably see in the upcoming video, is a great way to actually dominate the Veno. RTZ slayed a rank 8 Veno hardcore. And most importantly in the mid game, what I love so much about this matchup is what does Veno like to do? He likes to walk into the fight and ulti a bunch of heroes. That's what he does, right? However, against Arc Warden, it's very hard to do that because what he does is he fluxes you, he puts down a Spark Wraith, and then sends this annoying Tempest double that obviously you don't want to ulti, you don't want to Gale, you don't want to spend any time on, but it's auto-attacking you to death. And then you have to make up your mind. Do I ignore this thing? Do I run away? Do I just not get a good ulti off this fight? It's a real predicament for Veno. It really, really is. So keep that matchup in mind. I think Arc is actually a very good safe laner to deal with Veno. Next up, we have Darkseer. I think the main reason why this matchup, in my opinion, is good is just largely because you're an aura buyer. Greaves is good, right? You can purge the Gale, you can purge all the ticks from Veno, even Veil. Most importantly, though, you are a mech and a pipe buyer. Similar to what I said about Necro against Spectre, this applies with Darkseer against Veno. AoE magical damage, buying a mech, buying a pipe is the major ways to counter that. So having a hero that can do that is really good. And then the main other thing that I think is cute, besides the fact that Vacuum is very good against Veno, as it kind of just makes him uncomfortable. It can really just put him in a bad spot where he can't disengage. Very important. But interestingly enough, your ultimate Wall of Replica, when you get a Veno illusion, it actually gets Poison Sting. So, you know, it's not broken by any means, but it's pretty cool. Also, as a side tip, Terrorblade's Q Reflection can also get Poison Sting, so if you happen to be playing TB against Veno, I recommend taking a value point in that skill. Next up, and finally, is Jug. This matchup can actually go both ways. Veno's very good at killing Healing Ward. You can force Jug to spin if you play the lane properly, but I think in your average pub, Jug is a very, very strong hero against Veno, as Venos don't really know how to dominate the lane properly. They don't really force out your spin, and therefore, as long as you take a point in Healing Ward, you're gonna chill in the lane. You'll be fine. In fact, with a good support synergy, right? If you cast your spells well with them, you can kill the Veno. And finally, last thing to note is Healing Ward against, Veno's ulti is fantastic. You can save your team, especially if you're able to group up. After a big Veno ulti, you can heal them all up and completely counter it out. Next up is Magnus, probably the best mid laner hero of this patch, arguably. I think some would definitely be willing to argue that. And the first hero that counters him is Veno. Why? Well, I think Veno is typically good against a lot of the mag partners. I did say that, Jug can counter Veno. However, I really do want to be clear, that matchup can go the other way. That's a 50-50 matchup. I think Veno has a 48% win rate against Jug. It's nothing abysmal, right? It's no 35 or 41% win rate. But getting back into the point, heroes like PA and TB and Spectre, right? A lot of the Magnus pairings, they can struggle against Veno in lane. Veno can kite them out very, very hard. They can't do much against Poison Sting. Even in the mid-late game, the items that Veno can buy, such as Veil and Halberd and Pipe and Greaves and all these type of items, can really make a hard game in combination with Gale and all these slows for the all-in right-clickers, which typically are picked with Magnus, right? And so that reason is good in itself. And the most important reason that people don't realize is the pure fact that Plague Wards cancel Blink Dagger, right? Magnus, he needs to get off a good blink. Magnus is really not a frontliner. Can you build him like a frontliner? Yeah, we've seen Seb do it many times, actually, at TI. I think he built like Greaves and Vanguard, half the games. But getting back to the point, Plague Ward, they cancel blink, they scout out, it prevents him from getting off a good RP, and let's segue that into the next point, which is Night Stalker. Night Stalker also prevents good RPs, because what you do is you say, okay, I'm playing Night Stalker, I'm going to ulti, I'm going to find the Magnus, and I'm going to auto-attack him. That is bad for Magnus when there's a Night Stalker doing that, because what it does, it basically forces Magnus to make up his mind. Do I solo RP a Night Stalker? Not too optimal. I might not even be able to kill him, because this hero's really tanky. He also buys like Halberd and Vlads and Vessel and Ags and BKB and AC, right? These are the type of items that Night Stalker's going to be buying, bracers, and so on. So, you know, you kind of just prevent Magnus from getting off a good ulti, and I think the vision game is a big deal there. And finally is Slardar, and Slardar is very similar to Night Stalker, and it's similar to Veno. I think Slardar does very well in lane against the PAs, Slarks, even the Jug in this case. Slardar is a hard counter to Jug. That is widely regarded as true. You know, can Jug do okay? I mean, sure. But, you know, the fact that you can't spin TP, you bash him in the lane, it's just a bad matchup for Jug, and Slardar really, really does well, and can also zone out Mag in the team fights and gain Roche priority over Mag, which is something Mag often does well, right? He gives right clickers a lot of damage, which lets you kill Roche. Slardar can kill it earlier. Next up is Faceless Void. First off, we have Veno. I know I'm using Veno again, but this is just such a good counter to Void, I have to. Veno buys a lot of stats, which prevents him from dying in Chrono. You can specifically itemize just to not die to Void in Chrono. You buy a Veil, and then like a Halberd, or a Ghost Scepter if you see him coming, or you can go Crest, or you can go Greaves and Mech, and you can, most importantly, just scout him out. Same thing as the Magnus reasoning, right? You can see the Chrono coming, which allows your team to react. It allows them to split up, right? Like these big team fight ultimates, having a Veno is largely why, you know, Veno's popular right now. You just throw down a couple Plague Wards, and it's like, oh, they see me, what do I do, right? What do I do? Because the element of surprise is such a big deal for Void, especially in the mid and late game, especially in the late game. So yeah, also it's good in lane, right? Void wants to time walk off damage. That's bursty in the lane. That's not the case with Veno. He's not bursty at all. It's all chip damage, which is really bad for Void, even in team fights. Next up is Underlord. Underlord is also chip damage, which is good against Void, and similar to Veno, you buy a lot of tank items. You buy Vlads, you buy Crimson, you can buy the Mech. Right, you buy these type of items that prevents Void from doing a lot of right-click damage, and, most importantly, I think Underlord can actually deny Void a lot in the lane. Literally deny him. Not a lot of heroes can do that, but Underlord can gather so much damage to the point where he can man up the Void, which also a lot of heroes can't do, and you can deny the Void. A very, very strong combo, and putting Pit of Malice and your Q into a Chrono makes it very hard for Void to run around. Like, it's just very clunky for Void to have to deal with a Pit of Malice and a Firestorm that are in the middle of his Chronosphere. So a good counter there too. And finally is Skywrath Mage. This one's a bit weird for sure, but I think the combination of burst damage and a silence can be a counter to Void throughout the entirety of the game. I often would say that you can consider what I call the no-tail build. I'm sure other people have done it. But what you do is you max out your silence, actually. Yeah, you max out your silence with 1 point in Q, 1 point in W, and you take your ultimate at 6. To compensate for the lack of damage. And you max out your E, and you can silence up the Void. It's just a great way of killing Void, because, you know, sometimes you stun him for 2 seconds, and it's just not good enough. He's too tanky, especially with all the stats and treads he buys, and you know, neutral items, and things like that. So Skywrath really does allow you to burst him, and the silence is a very big deal. Also in the lane, you can be some sort of chip damage. It is sort of burst in certain scenarios, but if you're careful about when you cast your Q and your W, you can, you know, make it where it's hard for him to time walk off the majority of your damage. And finally is Zeus. I want to tell a little bit of story about Zeus. I played Zeus recently in a Divine. Did I give the story already? I might have. I played him in a Divine 5 average game. I didn't get jumped, ever. Why? The enemy team had a Battle Rider and a Storm Spirit too, and I barely ever got jumped. How? Guys, this is why, and I'll pull it up, this is why Zeus has such a high win rate. It's also why Sniper in low MR games, specifically, has such a high win rate. He does a lot of damage, but he dies really easily. So please, I'm not going to give you hero specifics here. There's a lot of heroes that can jump anyone, especially Zeus. But if you see a Zeus buying Aether Lens and Bots and Ags, and a Kaya, and a Veil, kill him. He can't disengage. Please, smoke and think, where is the Zeus gonna be? If you want a quick tip, here you go. He's very often behind the safe laner. That's gonna be all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, let me know if you want more of these counter type of videos. Talk about matchups also in the comment section down below. I'll try to read them, see what you guys are thinking. Maybe I can use some of them in the future videos. You know, I'm always trying to learn from you guys as well, right? It's always a mutually beneficial relationship here at gameleap, especially if you have a gameleap sub, which if you don't, very disappointing. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Ending on that note, go get your sub right now. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me. but I recommend you sign up to gameleap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're gonna see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster. Because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream. And that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're gonna see there, and I hope to see you there right now. So click it. And yeah, thanks for watching.